Welcome class 10 to The Merchant of Venice by William Shakespeare, Act 4, Scene 1. Before I begin the paraphrase, let me give you the gist of Act 4, Scene 1. Scene 2 is just a very short one. So, over to the introduction of this scene. This scene presents the famous trial of Shylock the Jew and shows Shakespeare's brilliance at its best. All the major characters of the play are assembled here, and the scene may be looked upon as the climax of the drama. In the magnificent court of Venice, where the scene takes place, Shylock remains unmoved when appealed to show mercy towards Antonio. He is steadfast in his demand for the payment of the forfeit, even though he is being offered thrice the amount of the money by Portia in the disguise of Dr. Balthazar. Shylock has no hesitation in confessing that it is his hatred of Antonio that is the reason for his murderous intention of taking Antonio's life. Though Portia urges Shylock to take thrice the amount of money, but when she finds him adamantly refusing to do so, she holds him to the letter of the law and grants him his pound of flesh, but with the stipulation that if it contains a single drop of blood, all his lands and goods will be confiscated by the state of Venice. Shylock has no option but to lose his bond. Portia further accuses him of the attempted murder of Antonio, which by the laws of Venice demand that if a foreigner willfully seeks to kill a native, then half of his property will be confiscated by the state and the other half will be given to the intended victim, which is Antonio in this case. Furthermore, his life depends on the charity of the Duke, and Antonio, as noble as ever, forgives Shylock, asks that his half of Shylock's estate should be given to Lorenzo and Jessica. This scene cleverly introduces the ring episode toward the end as a natural turn of events, with Bassanio wanting to reward Dr. Balthazar for delivering Antonio from the clutches of Shylock. Nerissa also demands a ring from her husband Gratiano under the disguise of a clerk, of course, and this comic interlude combined with Antonio's good fortune, which is escaping the cruel penalty, it lightens the dark and the tragic overtones which cloud the beginning of Act 4. So now over to the paraphrase of Act 4, Scene 1. The Duke says, "What? Is Antonio here?" So he's asking whether Antonio is here or not. Antonio replies, "Ready, so please, Your Grace." "Yes, sir, I am here, Your Grace," which is a manner of addressing the Duke, who is a royal personality. "Duke, I am sorry for thee. Thou art come to answer a stony adversary, and inhuman wretch, incapable of pity, void and empty from any dram of mercy." So, of course, the Duke is feeling sorry for Antonio, and he says, "Antonio, I am really feeling very sorry because you have come to face a ruthless enemy who is inhuman, not capable of showing any pity, without any feelings of mercy." Antonio knows that, of course. He says, "I have heard Your Grace had taken great pains to qualify his rigorous course. He says, "Yes, my lord, I know that you have taken great pains. You have done everything you can to talk to him and of what he is doing. But since he stands obdurate and that no lawful means can carry me out of his envy's reach, I do oppose my patience to his fury and am armed to suffer with a quietness of spirit to the very tyranny and rage of his." Antonio says, "Yes, my lord, but because I know he remains stubborn and there is no legal way to protect me out of his malice, his hatred. So I will just have to take what he is going to give me patiently. I am ready to face him. I am ready to suffer peacefully whatever he does to me in his tyranny and rage, in his cruelty and his anger. I am ready to face. So now the Duke has no other option. He says, go one and call into the court. Somebody go and call him inside. Salerio says, he's ready at the door. He comes, my lord. But Shylock was already ready. Shylock enters. Duke, make room and let him stand before our face. And then R stands for the royal plural, because the Duke is supposed to be a royal personality. So he says our face. And so he's gentle in the beginning with Shylock. He says, make room for him and let him stand before us. Shylock, the world thinks, and I think so too. He says, not only everybody thinks, but I also think the same thing, like everybody else does, that thou but leadest this fashion of thy malice to the last hour of act. He says, I think, Shylock, that you are just pretending to be cruel, and we all think that at the last second, last hour, last time of the case, you are going to show mercy and pity. And then 'tis thought, thou showest thy mercy and remorse more strange than is thy strange apparent cruelty. So we are all thinking that this pity which you are going to show will be more surprising than this bizarre cruelty which you seem to be showing now. And then he says, where thou now exactest this penalty, which is a pound of this poor merchant's flesh, that because you are hell-bent to exact the penalty, take the penalty, the punishment, which is a pound of flesh from Antonio's body. Thou wilt not only lose the forfeiture, but touch with human gentleness and love, forgive a moiety of the principal. So we all think that not only are you going to let go the punishment, the penalty, the pound of the flesh which you claim, but because you will be touched by human gentleness and kindness, of course you are a human being, you are also going to forgive a moiety of the principal, part of the actual amount of money, which is 3,000 ducats you have taken from, which Antonio has borrowed from you. Glancing an eye of pity on his losses that have of late so huddled on his back, enough to press a royal merchant down and pluck commiseration of his state from brazy bosoms and rough heart of flint, from stubborn Turks and Tatars never trained to offices of tender courtesy. So now the Duke says that we all are thinking that, of course, casting a glance, an eye of pity on the losses which have recently gathered on the back of Antonio, which is enough to throw out of business a great merchant like Antonio, and which is going to evoke pity, bring out pity on his state from anybody, leave alone you are a human being. Even if there were these Tatars, Turks and Tatars, actually Turks and Tatars are supposed to be the Asiatic races who are supposed to be devoid of all civilization and are supposed to be savage, uncivilized, never trained in the moral lessons. They have never known how to be kind, who have hearts which are as hard as brass or rough like stone. So even those people, if they were to see Antonio's losses, the great merchant like Antonio, even they will be moved to show pity to him, who have never been trained in the offices of tender courtesy, who have never known how it is to be kind. Then he says, we all expect a gentle answer, Jew. So Jew, Shylock, we are all expecting for you to behave gently and give a gentle answer, a kind answer. But of course, Shylock is adamant. Shylock is not ready to relent. He is stubborn. He is adamant to have his bond. He is very cruel. He says, I have possessed your grace. Of what I purpose? That, my lord, I have already told you, informed you what is my intention. And by our holy Sabbath have I sworn to have the due and forfeit of my bond. And Sabbath means the seventh day, the holiest day of the Jewish week, or we can also say a holy festival of the Jews. He says, by that I have sworn that I will have the bond, the punishment as well as the due, which is liable to me to be given to me by Antonio. If you deny it, let the danger light upon your charter and your city's freedom. Then he is openly challenging the Duke. The cheek of him, he says to the Duke, if you deny me what is due to me, then there will be danger falling upon your charter. The charter which claimed the freedom of Venice will be in danger. You will ask me why I rather choose to have a weight of carrion flesh than to receive 3000 ducats. He says to the Duke that, okay, you want to ask me why I would rather have this rotten flesh. He's calling the flesh, the pound of flesh he is claiming from Antonio's body to be rotten, decayed. Why this decaying, rotten flesh would I want to receive from the body of Antonio? Then he says, I won't answer that. I will not answer that. So again, see the cheek of him. He is openly, defiantly, he is challenging the Duke. He says, no, I will not answer to that question. But say, it is my humor. He says, I will just say that it's my wish. Is it answered? Do you have your answer? What if my house be troubled with a rat and I be pleased to give 10,000 ducats to have it baned? And see how he is counter questioning the Duke. He says, yes, what is it? Suppose my house is troubled, infested with a rat, and it's my choice, my wish, that I can give 10,000 ducats to have it poisoned. What? Are you answered yet? He says, have you got your answer? Then again he gives examples. He cites examples. He says, some men there are not love a gaping pig, some that are mad if they behold a cat, and others when the bagpipe sings I the nose cannot contain themselves. He said there are certain people who cannot stand the sight of a roasted pig, gaping pig, roasted pig, head of a roasted pig with the mouth stuffed with apple was a delicacy in those days, served on the table as a dish. So, but some people could not stand it, the sight of it. He says some people can't stand the sight of this delicacy. Some are mad. Some cannot stand the sight of a simple harmless cat. And others when the bagpipe sings I the nose. Then bagpipe is a musical instrument. It has got a high tone, high pitched tone which comes out through the pipe. Some people are not able to keep their composure. So he says because of the sharp nasal tones. He says there are some people who cannot keep their composure. For means because for affection mistress of passion sways it to the mood of what it likes and loathes. He says because it is our mood which always which overtakes our likes and dislike, what we like and what we don't like. Now for your answer. So now for your answer, what you want to know? Just like that, as there is no firm reason to be rendered why he cannot abide a big gaping pig, why he a harmless necessary cat, why he a woolen bagpipe but of force must yield to such inevitable shame as to offend himself being offended. He said just like any person is not able to stand the sight of a gaping pig or a harmless cat, or another person is not able to maintain his composure on hearing the nasal tones of the bagpipe, because he himself is offended, then he is bound to irritate the others. In the same way, I have no reason to give you more than that. I have a deep rooted hatred, and a certain hatred which I have for Antonio always, that I follow thus a losing suit against him, and for which I am ready to lose 3000 ducats against him. I will just get a pound of rotten flesh which is of no use to me and lose. So losing suit means I am ready to lose 3000 ducats. And then he says, are you answered? Okay children, rest tomorrow, go through the video. Goodbye.